And with myself, it's a bad day. I don't have nobody else to fight with.
I'm learning how to fight.
Hello, we're coming to you live here, J and J. I'm James Rodney. This is Dr. Jalisa Arlene Barnes. We are
Not
first
the whole
cousins.
government.
The whole government, Jalisa Arlene Barnes, James
Sir,
Rodney. My mother and her father are siblings, brother and sister. So we go way back. Can we say that? Can we say
we
we go
go
way
way
back?
back to the eight
Okay,
tracks.
good. Okay, good.
Were eight tracks a thing when we were born?
They were definitely a thing when I was
Were they a
born.
thing? So what's going on with you, cousin?
Oh, same cousin. Enjoying life right now, making the most out of life with my son, Jewel's
Yes,
Messiah.
that
Finishing
part.
up kindergarten, getting ready for this summertime,
I
this hot summer weather. Enjoying work. Making the most out of learning everything and getting some great experiences right now. So, how about you, cousin?
living. Life is going.
Okay,
It's crazy you talking about Psy. Like we call Joel's Psy, but only we get to do that.
that's right.
No, but I was thinking about him the other day about how he's about to graduate. I
Flies.
remember when he was being born and somebody was texting me
That's
in the
right.
middle of the night.
He's on the
And
way.
then y'all know what my cousin did? He announced it all of Facebook. He had me up all night. Remember that? You had me up
It's
all
coming
night.
live. Coming live. Facebook
You
Live.
had me up all night,
Tune
texting
in.
me,
First
giving
one to
me the
tune in.
updates. I was up at like 3, 4 in the morning. And then I didn't hear from you for a while. I said, "Oh, it must be going down. He gonna text me when this baby
It's
comes out."
time.
Wake up, no text. Get on Facebook. I was
There
like,
you go.
"Wow." I was like,
Fresh
"Wow."
edition.
I was like, "That's such a dude move."
Fresh edition. First one to tune in.
What was that? That's our
What
thing.
was
What was
that?
that? I cannot believe he's finishing kindergarten and gonna be a first grader, and he's just, you know, the pride of life. I feel
Time
like
truly
everybody that
flies.
meets him just
Time
feels
truly flies.
better after they
Yeah.
spend some time with him. Anyway, what we talking about today, cousin?
What we're going to talk about today, cousin, I think a good topic to talk about that we've been going over recently is how do we handle conflicts, right?
Mm,
What does that
that
look
part.
like? What does that look like when we deal with conflicts in relationships, whether they be friendships, family members, coworkers, whatever it is? How
Mhm.
do we respond and react to different scenarios and situations that we might not agree with or, rub us the wrong way, disagreements, essentially?
I mean, can we just fight everybody?
Can you just fight everybody and be done with it?
Yeah.
Huh? The strongest survive. The strongest survive. I'll be right because I'll survive.
No, but I think that's like a big thing because I feel like when people have conflict, they always act like it's a surprise. Like humans don't have conflict. Like if you have a relationship with somebody, like you said, a friendship, family member, relationship, like there's gonna be conflict. And I don't know about you, but a lot of the time I just feel like I'm woefully unprepared to handle it. And I don't handle it right all the time. So, there's a lot of jumping to conclusions, there's a lot of assumptions, there's a lot of telling somebody what you think, everything that you think, and then come to find out later it's not exactly what you thought it was in the first place. Yeah, that's how I have tended to handle conflict. What about you?
You're totally right, cousin. Definitely a lot of misunderstandings. I think, for me in the past, it's been so much of a barrier and an obstacle to get over the pride and the ego. Sometimes you always want to be right.
Mhm.
Initially, especially if you feel like you're being attacked.
Mhm.
Sometimes you might not feel like certain things are warranted. And I guess it's how you kind of prepare yourself
Mhm.
and possibly try to prepare the other person for
Mhm.
engaging in what's not war but maybe just an exchanging of information,
Yeah.
criticism sometimes, certain things that
Mhm.
we just I feel like I haven't been able or really prepared as a child and a young adult to really embrace in a certain form or fashion that would kind of be conducive, like you said, for not having a argument, or let's say a
Yeah.
negative outcome. Let's say a negative outcome, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely been difficult and definitely a learning experience, right?
Yeah. That part. What would you say is like your go-to, like when you start to feel like you're, whether you like you're being attacked or like this is turning into a problem?
I would say, earlier on, a go to would have definitely just been shutting down.
Mhm.
Not even wanting to continue it.
Mhm.
Let's just nip it right here, because
Yep.
I don't see this going well.
Yeah.
So let me just be done with this right now.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and then more recently, I guess another go to that was probably more healthier was
Mhm.
finding that person who could kind of be the middle person,
Yeah. Like a mediator.
to a mediator, to kind of
Mhm.
translate both sides, and get an equal understanding to kind of help. That would
Yeah.
definitely be a go to now at this
Yeah.
phase of my life, and understanding a lot more about different outcomes and what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think back in the day, I was definitely a
Talk your truth.
I mean, I definitely think I was always more of an explosive
Okay.
responder
All
to
right, firecracker.
conflict, right?
Yeah,
Like if I
yeah,
felt
yeah.
like you coming for me, I'm coming for you right back, bruh. Like, and then as I got older, I went into the shutdown. But what I would do is I would shut down initially, but I'm gathering information, right? I'm gathering
Okay.
ammo, right? Because then it's like, now when I go off, you can't say nothing because I gave you some chances. I gave some
Beware.
opportunity,
Yeah.
So now when I go for the jugular, I don't feel bad because that was the thing. I would feel bad. Like I would go off, I
Same.
would act out
Yeah.
of emotion, and then
Yeah.
I would feel bad about it after, especially if it turned out
Definitely.
that it wasn't necessarily what I thought it was. But then it's like, okay, no, you did the one thing, and then you did the next thing, and I didn't say anything, or I kind of left it, or but that wasn't really healthy because I still wasn't communicating necessarily what my issue was. And I mean, a lot of the time they knew what they were doing, but still, you do your part. You do what you can control. So that
That's true.
was
That's
definitely
true.
what I try to do now. I definitely try to give myself space to, I think, calm down first off. I try to figure out exactly what my problem is, because that's another thing. A lot of the time I'd have like a big reaction, and it would just be like everything, all inclusive of everything.
Mm,
And
mm,
then later on it's kind of like, okay, well, this wasn't really the issue, that wasn't really the issue, like this little thing here was my
mm.
actual issue.
Pull
So a
everything
lot of
else
the
in there.
time, yeah,
Okay.
so a lot of the time I'll try to just kind of be like, okay, what am I actually upset about, and this is what I'm going to address. um you know and I find that that works a little better, and I'm able to get over stuff a little easier.
Oh, I love it,
you know
cousin. I love
yeah,
it.
so I went to Google.
Okay, let's do it.
I Googled something,
What'd
and
you
I
Google,
just
cousin?
Googled the question, why do families fight?
Okay.
And I
Why
came
do
across
families
something
fight?
interesting. Why do you think families fight?
Why do families fight? Assumptions. Assuming.
Hmm.
Going back to mine, maybe some of that ego, or that pride.
What? That ego and pride,
I'm a,
ooh,
I'm a,
that'll
I'm
get
a,
you.
I'm a, I'm a, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go with those three.
That'll get you.
Yeah.
Assumption, ego, and pride. I'm gonna read what I found. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. So it says that there are 5 main causes of conflict: information conflicts, values conflicts, interest conflicts, relationship conflicts, and structural conflicts. Information conflicts come when people have different or insufficient information, or they disagree over what's relevant. If we're talking plans or finances or whatever, and I only have half the information, and you didn't give me all the details, or vice versa, now we're in conflict because I'm moving according to what I think is the situation, and there's something else going on. And it's like, oh, wait, you didn't tell me all that. Then we have values. Values are created when people have perceived or actual incompatible belief systems. where a person or group tries to impose its values on others or claim exclusive right to a set of values disputes arise. So, I feel like that goes more under, respect. I believe this and
Yeah.
you should believe it too. Then you have interest conflicts, which are caused by competition over perceived or actual incompatible needs. So this has to deal with money, resources, or time, where each party mistakenly believes that in order to satisfy their own needs, those of their opponent must be sacrificed. So in order to get what I need, you got to give something up. And then we have relationship conflicts where there are misperceptions, strong negative emotions, or poor communication. One person may distrust the other and believe that the other person's actions are motivated by malice or an intent to harm the other. Relationship conflicts might be addressed by allowing each person uninterrupted time to talk through the issues and respond to the other person's concerns. Structural conflicts. They are caused by oppressive behaviors exerted on others. Limited resources or opportunity, as well as organization structures, often promote conflict behavior. These parties might benefit from mediation because the forum will help neutralize the power imbalance. So that has more to do with one person is kind of in charge, running the show, and they're shutting down the other person, and there's a conflict. You got them?
We got them. Let's go.
What would you say are the types of conflicts that have shown up the most in your life?
Definitely. Let's put them in order. I would say let's do structural
Structural is
information.
like your top. So,
Structural is the top. It's between
okay.
relationship values and the information to fall in
Mm-hmm.
order after that. Relationship. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Structural highest priority. I mean
Mm-hmm.
highest.
Highest level.
Structural relationship
Mm-hmm.
values and
And,
information.
and then information.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think it's a toss up for me between relationship and structural.
Okay.
I definitely feel like we were raised on misperceptions.
Yeah.
Like,
So that was the information for me. It was like, where does that go?
so
I tried.
yeah,
They all kind of
relationship.
almost cross over. Yeah.
And I guess I would have to agree that structural probably is the most because that really kind of shaped how the family developed and progressed, right? So you talk about oppressive behaviors. One, our parents grew up during the 50s and 60s and
Right.
70s.
Right.
You know, our grandfather was born in the house. I don't know why that is so fascinating to me. He was born in the house in 1931 in a little town called Seaboard, North Carolina, right?
Okay.
And we talked about how we did ancestry and we were able to track our relatives back to 1858, which was a few years before emancipation, and it's not that far from where they were located. So we're
Yeah.
gonna be taking a trip soon to go check it out. But not very far from where our people were enslaved and all that kind of stuff. And obviously growing up in 1931 or born in 1931, that's the height of the Great Depression, um, height of Jim Crow. And he was, in the South, and in like the country South, right? Because the
Yeah.
country and the city tend
No
to be a little bit
stoplights.
different,
Right.
you know?
One
So,
intersection.
yeah. And, grew up without a dad. His father left. And he was abusive, it sounds
Yeah.
like, right? Like we had information that he was abusive, he was drunk, and there was a time when he and his siblings lived without either of their parents. They were staying with family. And so he made his way up to the Bronx, New York. Everybody, somehow managed to roll up to the Bronx, and he was the first one in the family to ever buy a house, you know? And so you look on the outside and you look on paper, and he did all these wonderful things and beat all these odds, but it came at a price
Right.
because then when it was time to build a family, it's like he had used everything up,
Mm.
and so there was a structure there. And I think it was a structure he had to adhere to if he was going to accomplish what he wanted, but it didn't necessarily work for raising children in a loving and warm home.
Definitely. All the other
Would you
parties
say?
involved. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And our grandmother, I would say, had similar roots. By the time she came along, her family was a little more established. So, she was already born in the Bronx. That's where they met. They met in the Bronx. So she was born where she was raised. But her parents didn't have it very easy. And so there were things that they had passed down. So it kind of created this family, organization structure,
Yeah.
and then things kind of get passed down. And so here we are almost 100 years later, and there's stuff that we're now pulling out and looking at and kind of questioning, and a
Yeah.
lot of things that were just kind of accepted before, now it's kind of like, nah,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's it.
Check that again. Check that
I,
one.
I don't think that's
Just
it.
recheck it. Yeah.
You know, like I think about, so there were 8 kids, right? There's 8 of them
Okay. That's
all
right.
together, and
6 brothers, 2 sisters.
6 brothers,
Okay.
2 sisters on one income for a long time,
Right.
and so food wasn't
In New
a
York.
staple in
Yeah.
Long Island, New
In
York. On
Long
top
Island,
of
New
that,
York, in,
right?
in,
Because
in, in any decade, right? In
it's not a cheap
any
place to
time,
live,
right?
and so they weren't able to just go in the fridge and pull out food. They had to get permission to get food out of the fridge. And that got passed down to me. Now I lived in a
Come
house
on,
with 2
come on.
people, with two
That's right.
with 2
That's right.
children,
That's right.
and for the longest time, it was like you have to ask to get food. I like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This isn't the same situation. Like, let's have that conversation. And for the
Apples and
longest
oranges.
time, I would look back on that and I would just be like, that was so weird to me. Like, why? But then you realize when you get the information, right? So now we're getting into the information conflict. It's
There
like,
you go.
okay, so that was missing information. That was behavior out of context. And when you put the context to it, it makes sense.
Right.
I still don't
Right.
agree with
Right.
it, but at least it
Right.
makes more sense
Right.
why it had to happen
A little
that
more
way.
understanding to it. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
agree, but it's a little more understanding.
it's an understanding. Because before it was weird. Why are you being weird to me?
Why are you being
But
strange about this eating? I just want to live.
I gotta ask. I
Yeah.
mean, the answer was
Yeah.
never no, but I gotta
Yeah.
ask
Each and every time. Each and
to
every
get
time.
food.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you say. So where would you say this stuff kind of has showed up for you then? If that
Um.
was how that all happened.
So I mean, if we're just talking about the structure, I think you just gave a great point. How it was like,
Mhm.
cycles that we didn't really understand or get, but there was always that power imbalance.
Mhm.
Even developing and growing into a young adult, there was still power imbalances.
Mhm.
With any family member, just really trying to figure out, like you said, who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm in a position of authority,
Yep.
right?
Oh my
And there's no
gosh.
discussions. There's no.
I'm just right.
I'm just right.
Adult to child. I'm just right.
That's it. I'm just right.
Yep.
No questions, no explanations, no reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how
Just
it is, and this is how it's gonna be.
yep.
And like I said, from
Yeah.
multiple places. Inside the family and outside the family, but more so, like
Mhm.
you said, it was kind of like a noticeable thing, so you
Mhm.
could tell that it generated from somewhere greater than the person that you were receiving it from, kind of going back
Mhm.
to, like you said, those cycles. So I might not have
Mhm.
understood what our grandfather and grandmother went through, but
Mhm.
could definitely see that something that they went through or something they received is being translated and trickled down to me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so yeah, that would have been my greatest one, because that kind of translated to me having that power imbalance when it
Why
came
I got to
on
deal
the
with it?
flip side. Yeah.
Make it make sense.
So make it make
Yeah.
sense.
And I think too, because I feel like we grew up with this mentality that if if we don't agree, somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. And I feel like that caused so much more pain and strife than it had to,
Agreed.
because so many times if you look back, it's like I just don't see it the way that you see it, but you were taught early on you got to be able to defend whatever. If you're going to stand up against me, like you said, right, because I'm the authority, so if you're going to
Right.
stand up against the authority, then you better have something to back up,
You got to
you
better have an
know,
army behind you. You hear
that
me?
part, the audacity to stand up to me,
Yeah.
like you got to have some proof, you got to have some witnesses. Even if you got proof and witnesses, I'm still
Call the
right.
National
But
Guard.
maybe I won't go so hard on you if you have something to back yourself up. But
Irrefutable, undeniable, hard, tangible
yeah.
evidence. Yeah.
What's that thing you always said? An unmovable uh
Oh, when an
object,
unmovable, right, an
unmovable object,
unstoppable force.
and an unstoppable force.
Yeah,
And
an
I feel like
unstoppable force is
everybody in
an
our
unmovable
family is
object.
either
Either
you
or on
you
any
one or
good
the
given
other.
day. Yeah, on any given day.
You're one or the other.
That's exactly right.
And I really saw how that affected me, because I remember just being so afraid of conflict. Like just
Mm,
and I'm not a timid person. I've never been a timid person. So fear on me didn't look like I'm not saying anything. Fear on me looks like I'm ready to fight,
mm,
and not necessarily physical, but psychologically, verbally, like I'm
wow.
ready for you.
Yeah,
You bring that to me, I'm ready
I'm here.
for it, you know? And I just I thank God, because I still do have I have good friends, I have a good community and
Yeah,
relationship, and I have people in my life who have been patient with me and have helped me grow and stayed, as I've matured out of a lot of things. But there were a lot of relationships that I felt, even to this day, just kind of can't go past a certain level, because if I don't know how to navigate a conflict with somebody, then I'm either running or I'm fighting.
you make a great point, cousin. No, that's a great point. Nah,
Yeah.
too often, there's a nervousness and the fear. Let's
Mhm.
call it what let's call it. It's a fear of engaging into things that have that uncertainty because we know the outcome that we've had to deal with repetitively, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so at that point, like you said, it's what am I going to have to choose from? Am I going to have to choose from flight or fight every time that
Mhm.
I have a disagreement or
Mhm.
where I'm in a relationship with somebody and I know that at some point we're going to have to come to the meeting of this minds and what's going to be the outcome, right?
Mhm.
I don't have
Yep.
to have that with myself. So
You wish, right? I'll be
you
looking at
wish,
myself sideways sometimes. I'll be like,
you
why
wish.
why? Why you
I'm
do that?
fighting with myself. It's a bad day. I don't have nobody else to fight with. At that
Why did
point,
you say that?
I'm fighting too long, fighting solo.
Yeah. But I'm learning how to fight.
Yeah.
Like how to fight,
Right. Right.
And it
The rules
it
of
doesn't
engagement.
yeah, it doesn't have to be this right?
Mhm.
Like I don't
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
plow through every time. Like I can take my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I can actually take a step back and consider, if I need to calm down. Like I don't have to go to the person right away, and I don't have to avoid them forever.
Okay.
And that's another thing that kind of runs in our family. It's, if there's a conflict and I can't get you to see my side of things, then we just not going to speak.
Be done with it forever,
We're not
and
going
be
to,
done with
one,
it
we won't
and
talk about
you.
it. So if we
Right.
do speak, we're not speaking about that.
That's right.
And if we can't get together and not speak about that or not argue about it, then we just won't speak, and it will go for years.
That's right.
And I think that that's just the saddest thing ever, like, or one of the saddest things.
It is though. It's heartbreaking, cousin. No, that's
Yeah.
that's factual. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's relationships lost. And a lot of the time, it's not even just between you and that one other person. If it stays between you and the other person, like, I feel like it's still sad. But a
It's
lot of
still
the
sad.
time, it's that person, if the person has kids,
Right.
or we're all family, so everybody's connected. So I have a sister, Jay has a brother. If me and Jay have a falling out and we don't speak, now I'm moving different around your brother. You're moving
No,
different around my sister,
just
and
major.
it's not even, you know, they're not pulled into it. You might still be cool with them, but now there's like this barrier of what you can talk about with them,
That's
you
right.
know, because now it can't just be this
No, they're just
open.
authentic, just open, authentic, organic, yeah, exchange.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely want to break. I can't wait to
It
break that
is.
cycle.
You made a great point because we've normalized it because it's just gone
Hmm.
on so long, and you've seen it since you were a child. You've seen it since you were a young adult. Then you started executing some of those same actions, and it just becomes a normal cycle to where you said it's trickling off to great grandchildren, children. Everybody gets affected
Hmm.
by it, and
Hmm.
yeah, it'll be a great day of celebration when
Yeah.
that is really broken and aware for those who can really make a change.
Yeah, and like you said, and it goes to the outside of the family too, and like I work with clients, and a lot of my clients have anxiety, they have depression. A lot of the similarities that come up are their relationships. A lot of them have either lost somebody, and a lot of time it's friends. It's not even like a relationship, but it's like I lost my friend group, or I lost my best friend, we stopped speaking. And a lot of them feel that if we don't agree on something, or we don't get along over, and it could just be this one issue, everything else is fine, but this one issue that grew so big that we can't be friends anymore, and they're like heartbroken from losing their friends. And
Mm,
when you like really walk them through the whole scenario and the breakdown of the situation, a lot of time it's like you didn't have to lose your friend
mm,
over that, or you didn't have to stop, because a lot of time they'll say, well, I just distanced myself, I just stopped,
right. Yeah,
spending
gave him
time with them.
space. Yeah,
Yeah, and but I identify with that so much, because it be like that. It's like I'm not gonna argue with you necessarily. You might not even know why I'm upset, but I'm not gonna take your calls as quickly. I'm not gonna respond to your texts as quickly,
yeah,
and it's like it didn't necessarily have to be that way. If I learned how to communicate and tell you, hey, actually when you said X, Y, and Z to me, it hurt my feelings, or it kind of wasn't cool,
right,
or yeah, you smoke, I don't smoke, so how about this, let's make a plan and try to hang out, when we can both do something that we enjoy,
right.
like, so just different things like that, because you don't have to lose your friends because you don't agree on everything.
Yeah. Nah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. That's a great point. All the little compromises and stuff like that. People don't want to compromise, and I think that
Mhm.
goes back to, like I said, maybe somewhat of that inner pride, that inner ego saying, "I want
Mhm.
it to be the way I want it to be in the control." Right? I think we came up in a family that loves that control and just being able to secure your mind. Right? Right. If I'm in control, then I have more secure mind. I'm safe. It's a safety blanket, right? And we get into that. We get into I'm not letting go of my blanket, man. If you
Yep.
do what I do and do what
We
I say,
cool.
we are 100%.
We
What is the
cool.
problem? Huh?
It's
You got
funny.
a mind of your own? Where are you going?
So you
Right?
don't you don't remember our first fight? Where I don't know if it was our first fight, but it's the first fight that I remember
Okay.
us having. And I was like 3, 3 or 4,
Okay.
and you were at our house. You were in New York, and and we were watching Free Willy.
Okay.
Why are you making this face?
I'm listening. The Free Willy story. Let's go. We're listening.
We were watching Free Willy,
Great Disney
and
movie.
that's not Disney. What is that? That's not
Disney.
Disney. Is it?
Okay. We'll fact
Google
check
it.
it later. Yeah, Google it.
And okay, y'all remember back in the day, for those who do remember back in the day, the VHS tapes, right? And it wasn't like DVDs where you could do like the special features and that type of stuff, right? You had to like watch it all the way through for the special effect for the special features. So,
Definitely.
Michael Jackson had a music video at the end of that movie, right? Will You Be There, which is still one of my favorite songs to this day. I'd be grooving. I was grooving. And somebody said, he's a bad man. And I was like, you're not talking about Michael. I was
Here we
like,
go
no,
with the
he is
fight.
not. And And I mean, you were like what, 4 or
I was
5?
about to say we were
So
both children, so yeah, we
I was
somewhere.
3, you were 4.
Mhm.
So but I mean, he said it with such certainty, and I was just like, no, he is not. He can sing, and he and
He bad. That's what he said. I'm
you were
bad.
like, you were like, no,
Self
you were like, that
proclaimed.
doesn't matter. That doesn't make him not a bad guy or whatever. We fought. We had a fight.
We had a fight
We had a fight over Michael Jackson and Free Willy.
over the end of the Free Willy movie.
Over the end of the Free Willy movie.
Okay.
But I just think about that. Like, you weren't giving in. I wasn't giving in.
It's no
We
budget.
were.
This is to the victor. This is to the victor.
And it wasn't like, oh, okay, whatever.
All right. Nope. We going in on this one.
We going
Yeah.
in. We got separated. And then I'm sure we're
Can't even
friends.
spell Free Willy.
Couldn't even spell Free Willy. I could spell Free Willy.
Now we can. We couldn't spell it at 3. All
Excuse
right.
me. I was a prodigy.
You were though. You were in those books.
Apparently, I read to you, but you deny that. I would read books to you.
I believe
I was
that.
like your teacher.
I don't know about that.
I was like,
I'd agree. I'd agree with a portion of that. By yourself, you were reading quietly, and somebody besides is probably reading out loud. So you're reading to them. Agree.
no, but it's interesting though, because growing up, you and our older cousin Russ were probably the only one of the few. There were other people that I would actively engage with. You know, like we argued, we played, but like if you made me mad, I could let you know, and I wasn't necessarily able to do that with, especially as you get older, and like you said, the way our families were, the way our parents were sometimes, you learned really early how not to show your feelings,
That's true.
how not to show your emotions. And I feel like with you and Russ in particular, consistently, I got to be who I was,
Okay.
and obviously as we all got older and more mature, our relationship became less contentious and more, we're looking out for each other, we're here for each other. So there wasn't even really so much of a need for that, but
Right. Dealing with real life experiences at that
yeah,
in the world, right? So
yeah,
we got each other's backs now, more so
yeah,
than the back and forth.
yeah. And we get to have conflicts.
Right.
I mean, we ain't gonna talk about our conflict. But we get to
To have
no,
conflicts and
but
healthy
we
conflicts.
had one, and I
Yeah.
mean, but we resolved it. I mean, and like actually resolved it and moved past it. It wasn't like you know, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, you're not talking to me, so I'm not talking to you.
A hindrance for the future.
And then it goes on and on. And what I realized a lot of the time too with us, and when I say us, I mean our family, is that you're not even mad the whole time that you're not speaking.
That's true.
Like, you might be mad for the first few weeks, first few months, like you might be actively upset and hurt, but you're not actually mad the entire time. And like I said, we can go years. People in our
Yeah.
family can go years. And I've had a few instances with different family members that I've gone a decade with somebody
Mm.
not speaking. I can't see myself going back to that, but I've done that a decade. Somebody else, it was like 4 years, and that's so much time missed, and it hurts because you go through like your milestones in life, especially
Yeah.
as the younger person, and this is the person who helped raise you, as part of your village, and you can't share that with them. Like, that hurts, and that's like,
It's no, it's major. You can't get it back either.
you can't get that time back. You can never, rewind and get that time back. But it's almost like grieving somebody who's not dead. Like, the doors, like there's a chance for them to come back. So
Yeah.
it's
There's a
you so
slight
you can't
possibility. You can't just
yeah, so you can't ever completely close the door,
yeah.
and just, like when people actually pass away, when they die, it's sad, it hurts, you go through your grieving process, but there's a finality to it.
You come
You
to a
know what I
conclusion.
mean?
All right. Yeah.
There's a conclusion.
Yeah.
There's no there that person will not be back. There is
Right.
no
Right.
return,
Right.
you
Right.
know? But when they're living and you're just disconnected from them, it's like it really hurts,
It
and
does. It does.
you'll be going through life, and I mean, I've gone through life. I miss this person,
Yeah.
and they're around, but we're not connected, and you feel like, oh, and you grieve them over and over again until it either gets resolved or, unfortunately, people have passed away and never reconnected with that person, and I just think that's so tragic. But all that said to say, so much of it is also sad because a lot of time you're not even angry anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got used to not talking to that person, and now
Yeah.
you're just
You've normalized the disconnection you have.
normalize the disconnect. And then again, when you go back, and that's partly why I really started to do that work on myself in terms of like, what am I actually mad about? Because I just took everything and threw it in the pot, and then threw it in the other person's face, and then walked out of their lives, right? But what
Right.
am I actually mad about? And a lot of the time, the stuff that you're actually mad about is fixable. you know
That's true. That's very
Boundaries
true.
can be set,
Yeah.
conversations can be had. We can try again. That we can't have conflict. I can't tolerate it if you don't agree with me, if you don't, see my side of things. Um and it's sad.
It is. Nah,
Yeah.
you're completely right, cousin. You hit a lot of nails on the head with it. It's been normalized, and it affects so many people, right?
Mhm.
The way it affects those people isn't seen, as we know, immediately. Sometimes
Mhm.
it takes, for us, it's taken some years for us to really
Mhm.
realize the
The
levels of
impact.
things and the impact. That's exactly
Mhm.
right. The impact that it has had, to whom, when and where and how, are all the little details that go into it and really make you understand, like,
Mhm.
this isn't it, right?
Not the way
It's
we're
really
doing it.
not. It's not the way we doing it. It's not.
Mhm.
It's not.
Yeah. So, how are we making it better? What are we doing? What's
What are
different?
the steps to make it better? What are we doing to make it better? We're definitely fighting through those habits, right? Because we have,
Mhm.
like to call, bad habits. We've been doing it for so long. It's been done and passed on to us for so long that it
Mhm.
comes naturally. And so there's conscious efforts, and really understanding when you're going through something, and how you're dealing with it, as far as relating to others and responding, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of it
Mhm.
is just how you're relating. I don't
Yeah.
agree with you, so, but I can still understand you a little bit,
Yep.
right? I don't have to
I can
completely
listen.
dismiss you. Yeah, I don't have to
Yeah.
completely dismiss you. We can still relate. We're related as far as being family members or friends or whatever the case is, and there's just
Mhm.
always that mental thing to kind of
Yeah.
bring you back in, and have the, what's the word we would talk about, compassion and the empathy sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Mhm.
That comes in with the
That part.
understanding. Yeah, that comes in with the understanding, because um the person that I see in front of me might not be the person that's trying to relate to me. And I mean that to
Right.
say, the person on the inside. I see the person that I know and that I've been dealing with for
Mhm.
so many years, so many decades, or even not that long, even with short term, but I have to bring myself in, right,
Mhm.
and say, what is this person trying to convey to me? Where are we going with this?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bigger picture looking, instead of in that very present moment, because their words might not come across right.
Right.
Um, their, what do you say? Their tone might not come across right.
Mhm.
Their energy might seem a little off to you. Whatever the case is, but what are we really trying to get at? Let's cut through
Right.
all of that sometimes and have better vision.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
more compassionate, more empathetic vision, hearing,
Mhm.
right, and understanding. So, how does that look when we're talking about executable actions, cousin?
I mean, I think one thing that really kind of wraps up everything that you just said is listening.
Mm,
If you just listen and take it in sometimes, I think our family and our society, our culture, I think is very, it's actionable. It's actionable and transactional, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So you say something to me, I have to move. Conditioning says that I have to move on what you said, right? So if my initial response to what you've said to me is that you're attacking me, or you're somehow diminishing me or demeaning me, my action is to either defend or to withdraw.
Mhm.
But a lot of the time, it's like you don't have to do anything.
Neither
You
one of
can just
those.
listen
Actively listening.
and actively say, okay, I hear what you're saying, you know, or even being able to say, let me sit on that for a little bit. I don't want to give you an answer right now because
Yeah.
I don't want to say something that I might not mean, given all the information and all the context, and maybe if I sit with it and I marinate on it a little bit,
Mhm.
it's gonna hit me a little differently. So let me not even give you that response right now, and making it clear I'm not ignoring you, I'm not dismissing what you're saying. I just need a second to sit with what you said.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Um, Also, apologizing. I think we really underestimate the significance of
Mm.
an apology. You
Come on.
know, it does take
Sincere.
two to have conflict. It does take.
Yeah.
You're not in conflict with me if I'm not participating. You know what
That's
I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
And there are going to be times when I'm not going to have a choice but to have conflict because you're going to see something one way and I'm going to see it another way, and boom, there's conflict. There's going to be conflict. But you know what? Here's my part in how I contributed to either the initiation or the escalation. I don't have to escalate it. I don't have to return the energy that I'm getting, you know?
Right.
But
Right.
sometimes you do. Sometimes you will. But being able to go back and say, you know what? This is what I take responsibility for. This is what I take ownership of. And I apologize. And regardless of who it is, so whether you're a peer, whether you're older, you know, an elder, whether you're a child, being able to say, regardless of your station, I was responsible for this, and I can say I'm sorry
That
for
accountability. Yeah.
how I, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love that, cousin. No, great way to find reconciliation. Like you said, it's really never too late, and that's the thing. I think, the more time that goes by, and the more comfort you find in not dealing with the conflict, right? The more you find yourself hesitant to getting back into it because
Mhm.
it's like, what does that apology look like, right? You have a lot of
Mhm.
things mentally. I feel like you might be conceding,
Mhm.
and budging on, and it's
Mhm.
tough sometimes to give that up, but
Yeah.
like you said, the benefit is so much greater.
Yeah.
And if we can all find the time to do something, um, that seems large like that, seems
Mhm.
small, it seems like a small thing to have a
Yeah.
larger impact, right?
Yeah.
To
Mhm.
mend those relationships and really, um, I think that's a snowball when you're looking at,
That
that avalanche that you want to create of something positive and breaking those cycles, right? It
part.
takes those small things like that. Let me apologize. Let me just go ahead and,
Yeah. Yep.
do my part. Hope they receive it well.
Yeah.
Come off with all the greatest intentions and have those actions behind those intentions.
Yeah.
Um, you know, what do you lose as a person?
Yeah. And you
So
said that word, that keyword, control.
yeah,
You know, like understanding I cannot control whatever I can't control. So I can't control other people. I
that's it.
can't control I can't control some circumstances and situations in my own life. Like I can do what I can do, you
Myself,
know?
me. Yeah,
So
yeah.
so if I'm feeling a certain type of way, so a lot of the things that people disagree on, it's kind of like I kind of have adopted the philosophy, unless you're getting in my way personally,
Hmm.
there really doesn't have to be that big of a conflict. If I don't like what you're doing with your money, I don't like the person that you're choosing to date or marry, or I don't agree with, and vice versa. I could tell you how I feel, but outside of that, we're kind of done.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like there's not really much else to say beyond that. So you know I got stories. So
All
I
right.
laugh because there's 16 of us cousins, right? Of first cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Um 10 boys, 6 girls. And I always know when my cousins get in relationships. You know why? Because on Facebook, I get friend requests.
Okay.
And I'll get friend
Get a
requests
little
from
attention.
strangers, and it'll be like one mutual friend. And I look at the mutual friend, and it'll be like Barnes, Barnes, Barnes. And I'm like, hmm. And I'll text my cousin, which the
Whichever
cousin
one.
is,
Yeah.
and I'll say, who's this?
Question. Inquiring minds would like to know.
And they'll say, "Oh, that's my girlfriend," or I think I got like a girlfriend's mom at one point. You know, it was just like, okay. It makes me laugh because these girls or women, kind of girls at the time, they would like try to connect with me because it's like, oh, it's another, you know, female woman in his family, and maybe, and I'm like, they do not go by me.
Okay, no idea.
And I don't push them. So it's kind of like, it was cute. It was funny to me, but it was also like, I stay out of their business. If they, you know, if they want me to know, they'll tell me. And if I meet them, and I've had a couple that was kind of like, I don't like her for you.
Yep.
But once I say it, shut up. Once I say it, it got said, and then, you know, because you got
I
to live
said
your
what I
life.
said. That's it.
I said what I said, you know, and again, I love that our generation is, we're building the type of community where I can honestly say that.
No love lost.
I can honestly say that there's no love lost.
Hmm.
And you know that, you know, especially when it comes to relationships, right? You know, like significant others, you know, you can know full well, I don't think this is it, but I'm not gonna treat your significant other any different. You know,
Right.
like I'm
Right.
gonna, you like her, I love her. You
Hmm.
know, like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna be that family member that treats somebody like an other because I disagree. And again, that goes back to, what was that? It was values, right? So from
Hmm.
my values, my perspective of values, this doesn't add up. You know, this person doesn't measure up, you know, or this relationship doesn't measure up to what I think a relationship should be. You know, and it's like, that's not, there's no conflict there, because you're the one that has to navigate that situation, and you're the one that has to deal with the fallout of that situation, and all I got to do is be there for you.
That's it.
It's late and
Yeah,
we're
we
old.
burning the oil. We are older. We are older.
We're
We are
old.
older.
Man, we
Almost
used to be able
elders.
to hang.
Tell you something.
I am
I
not
work in
almost
the
an
morning.
elder.
Oh,
You
you
may
should.
almost be an elder.
Russ two
What
on the
is
line. You you better be glad you made this cut.
that? We're gonna have our cousin Robin, who is just, I love her. I love her so much.
She is
She's
her.
definitely one of my favorite people, you know.
She's a
But
great prime example of of
yeah,
our genetics and our DNA. You know.
you know, she embodies our granddad's big sisters. I've always thought that that was so cool. Like, granddad had two big sisters. They loved him. He loved them. They were proud of him. They were siblings forever. Regardless of all the stuff that we don't necessarily want to keep, that love between them, that you know, we've been through it.
Yeah. Nah, that was it.
And we
That's
look
the
out for
press.
each other, and we protect each other all the way into their old age, and they're all gone now. One lived to be 94, one lived to be 90, 91. The other lived to be about 87. They really took care of each other all the way through until the end, you know, and until they really couldn't anymore.
They really did.
And you felt that love, you saw that love. So
I like that.
yeah. So that's all we got for you. Thank you guys so much. Once again, this is Jalisa and James coming to you every second Sunday with J and J. Y'all
With
take
J
care.
and J. Take care. Love.
You do that every
Gotta do the most. Put it on there. Put it on there. Pull up on me. Pull up on me.
You stupid.